Hello. Thank you for choosing Global Lynx as your CompTIA course provider. Welcome to the CompTIA course introduction. We're going to cover background material on the CompTIA IT fundamentals and A+ certifications that you need to know before committing to the virtual classes through Global Lynx. We're going to go over what are these certifications, what can you do with these certifications, what types of jobs could you apply for their earnings, exam objectives, class commitments, and required and recommended materials. What is Global Lynx? Global Lynx is an IT training provider located in Columbus, Ohio, offering both training certifications and IT consulting services. Global Lynx is a CompTIA authorized service partner. We have a staff of certified instructors and trainers to help you reach your credential and certification goals. Some of our offerings include official certifications, live instructor-led courses, programs for schools and universities, and other career-oriented training. My name is Ben French of Global Lynx, and at this point, we have already spoken on our phone interview. I'd like to introduce you to Abby Crane, our trainer in both IT fundamentals and A+ certifications.
Thank you, Ben. And I'll take over from here. We're going to start by looking at what is CompTIA. So that way we can lead into what these certifications are, what you can do with them, and then the types of jobs you can get, and ultimately our class expectations. So CompTIA is a very unique certification provider. CompTIA stands for Computing Technology Industry Association, and it is a worldwide leader of IT certifications. And they are a nonprofit. So their goal is to provide education, provide these certifications. They do a lot of philanthropy and outreach, even things like extra webinars, large social media presence to help those that have received their certifications continue on. And once they have entered into possibly new careers and new jobs. With CompTIA being a nonprofit, they are vendor neutral. So they're not tied to one specific vendor like Microsoft or Cisco or something like that. But that does not mean that they are vendor blind. You'll learn a large number of different brands, different types of software, different types of hardware that you're not going to get with certifications from your specific vendors. So you'll learn things about Intel versus AMD, Microsoft, Mac and Apple and Linux, even Chrome OS, Android, iOS, and then a large number of your hardware vendors as well. So there are a number of certifications that CompTIA does offer, and they have different paths depending on what type of career you find that you prefer. So we start out with the ITF Plus. So that is the IT Fundamentals Plus. This certification covers your essential skills. So these are going to be skills that are used to perform common IT tasks. And we're going to go into more detail on what that means in a little bit. After the ITF Plus is the A Plus. The A Plus is what a lot of the employers are going to be specifically looking for. It goes beyond that basic training and starts to link those skills to very specific job roles. From the A Plus, you could grow into the Network Plus, Security Plus, and then choose even specific pathways after that, depending on what you discover fits you best. With these certifications and IT in general, IT careers are very unique when it comes to careers, in general, along the scope of careers. When you talk with a hiring manager, they're not looking for college degrees. Where something like, medical fields, teaching fields, science fields, your college degrees are going to be stressed. With IT, it is the certifications that are stressed. So they're looking for job candidates that hold credentials or certifications. And again, CompTIA is that kind of #1 world leader of certifications. So if you look at the job postings, over half of the IT job postings from 2017 did not even list a 4-year degree as a requirement at all, not even a minimum requirement. And most of the IT positions had salary ranges of over $83,000 a year. So your average salaries are going to be much higher with IT careers than your others, even without college degrees. In addition to those credentials and those certifications, those who are doing the hiring are going to be looking for soft skills. So some of the soft skills that are very important with IT, things like problem solving. Well, because most of the time with IT stuff, you're troubleshooting something, whether, the network's not working, there's been a security breach, you try to figure out what has caused it. So we have troubleshooting is very, very essential. And even creativity. So even though you're not, doing your true creative work, you're not, making art, you must come up with maybe different ways, different ideas to come up with how to support this problem solving, how to figure out what's going on, maybe new different ways to fix it. You do have to have big attention to detail, figure out what's been going on, what's wrong, what things have been changed. And also, not listed here, but over on our chart on the side, customer service. So even coming into an IT career, getting some certifications like the A+, and even having a customer service background will help you immensely with an IT career. So IT careers and IT jobs are one of the fastest growing career fields. And this was even, before COVID changed how IT looked and how people are working from home and stuff. Even before then, IT was one of the fastest growing careers, and it continues to be now. So if we look at the estimated 2022 spending on technology, you're looking at 5.3 trillion. So this is going to be for things like hardware, software, any sort of service, telecommunications, and all of that needs IT professionals to support them. If we look specifically at the US, it's estimated that by 2026, there's going to be 1.2 million unfilled IT jobs because there's projected to be a gap in skills, a gap in your workforce tech jobs. So people that aren't necessarily trained correctly. So this again is where our certifications come in. Certifications can lead you to a middle skill job. So almost half of the labor market are filled with these middle skilled jobs. They are ones that require more than a high school education or a GED, but maybe less than a 4-year degree. So these certifications would fill that hole. And these jobs are up from 2014, these jobs that require those middle skill levels. So what are some of these jobs? So some of the careers that you could be looking at is anything from information security to network and cloud technologies. Right now, security and cloud are two of the kind of hottest, newer, popular things that are continually growing. Hardware, service and infrastructure and services, IT management, storage and data solutions, web and mobile applications, software development, even mobile software development, project management, even IT training, all sorts of different IT careers. So once we go into looking at some of the objectives for our certifications, you can pretty much think of each objective as being its own type of IT career in itself. So the ITF Plus and the A Plus really look kind of at the broad scope of things to give you a little bit of information on all of the crucial topics needed for each one. But IT is very unique. It is ever evolving. So you're not going to be learning one job and doing that job forever. That job is going to evolve and change over time. So in addition to you maybe moving roles, even in that position, you are constantly going to be maybe learning new technologies, gaining more information as time moves along. So if we look at some of our wages, some of our salaries, and some of the jobs to continue to watch, through time, tech wages are consistently higher than your average national wage. So right now, your average tech industry wage is about $113,000 a year compared to your average national wage, looking at about $55,000. So that's over double. So that is one of the things that does technically, draw a lot of people to IT, but also the fact that it is ever changing. You're possibly going to be doing something a little different every day. Going to get to have a wide variety of people, technologies you get to work with. So some of the newer job roles to watch that maybe fall in some of the categories we mentioned earlier, things like machine learning. So this is where even artificial intelligence will come in, working with Internet of Things. So an industrial IoT engineer. So the Internet of Things is going to be things like your Alexas, your Google Homes, but also your Ring doorbells, your Nest thermostats, your smart refrigerators, your smart stoves and ovens, your smart cars. All of that falls under the Internet of Things. Geospatial and mapping specialists, blockchain developers. So this gets into even stuff like cryptocurrency, digital designers, cybersecurity architect. And then related to cybersecurity, we have penetration testers. So going in, company can hire a penetration tester to test their environment to see if that penetration tester can legally and ethically hack into their network, see if they can find vulnerabilities so that way that corporation can fix those vulnerabilities. User experience designer, solution architect, and the list goes on and on. So these are some of the newer emerging job roles that may not have even existed 5 years ago. So we've already mentioned that IT professionals do make a higher general salary than the rest of the labor force. But keep in mind, there are a number of factors that go into this. Things that influence your salary could be your level of experience. Are you coming in with previous work experience? Are you coming in with customer service experience? Maybe managerial experience already? Then what your skill set is. What the cost of living in your location is. So if we talk about Ohio, but compare it to California, it's going to be a very large difference in that cost of living. Your education level. So even though a lot of IT jobs do not require a 4-year degree, they won't even list it as a minimum. If you already have one, maybe from switching careers, that is something that you can help use to kind of wager your wages to see if you can maybe get a little bump. And then ultimately, the most important one for IT, what certifications you have. The more certifications you have, generally the more you will make. So let's start looking at some of our entry-level jobs, what they do, and some of their salaries. So we're going to start looking at software developer, quality assurance analyst, and tester. So these all fall under the blanket of software developer. So this is where somebody's going to design an application or a program, and then needs to test it to identify that everything works, possibly report defects. So in 2017, your average starting salary for a position like this would be starting at maybe about $60,000 a year, going up from there, again, depending on cost of living, things like that. So if you looked at everyone who has these positions, not just entry level, you're looking at a median pay from 2020, about 110,000 a year. So that averages out about $53 an hour. This is one of the more growing fields. So it's projected that between 2020 and 2030, jobs under this blanket will grow about 22%. So that is a lot. Looking at your customer support specialist. So this is someone who is helping and advising users and organizations on a day-to-day basis. This is going to be where a lot of people will start out in IT, kind of like your help desk type of jobs would fall under here. This is where someone who has the A+ could go directly into a position like this. We're going into a software developer position. You would have to have more certifications than just the A+, extra education to be able to perform those jobs. But looking at a computer support specialist, you're looking at starting at about 30,000. I would say that 30,000 is probably somebody that does not have the A+. Maybe they only have the ITF+. Where with the A+, you might be able to expect closer to that higher end, maybe 45,000 a year. And again, projected growth over the next 10 years, 9%. So as IT careers are growing, your support specialists grow as well. So we have web developers and designers. So those who are making the nice web pages that we all look at. Again, you have to know the languages, the programs used. So you're looking at maybe 36,000 and up. Computer systems analysts. So individuals that can study a current computer system, find a solution that might be more efficient, more effective. Looking at that whole organization kind of as a whole. So this is going to be on the higher end of things. You may be able to start out here at around 50,000 a year, depending on your certifications. Information security analyst. Security is a big topic. Very, very important as well. As more people are using even Internet of Things, more people get more devices, more people are working from home. We need more information security analysts. There would be additional certifications on top of the A+. You may start out in a help desk position with an organization. A lot of people don't stay in a help desk position very long, maybe 6 months, and they would grow from there to move up into possibly something like a security analyst position. Then we have network and computer systems administrators. So these are going to be the people that are above help desk, the ones that are managing the actual systems. So they will be working with the customers on a day-to-day basis, but not taking that first call if something were to break. Then lastly, there's a lot more out there, but just for our little bit today, looking at database administrators. So databases are something that we'll focus on in the ITF+. Databases are behind almost everything you do, any e-commerce site you go to, any streaming service you go to, even a lot of your maybe small businesses that you go to, they will all have databases behind them, whether it's customer databases, inventory databases. There are databases behind almost everything. And database administrators or architects are a little hard to find. So being in a position like this, you have a lot of job security, in addition to having a wage higher than your national average. So if we take those careers and look at CompTIA's career pathways and where they lead you, a lot of people start out as a service desk analyst or some sort of field service tech, a help desk technician, or possibly an IT support specialist. So this is where you're working with a customer directly, finding out what is wrong, taking the first steps into troubleshooting to fix their specific problem. But even though you have to start at an entry-level position, there is a lot of room for growth. So you could move up into a security operations center worker that can go into being a penetration tester or a security analyst. You could be in a network operations center or a NOC versus the security operations center, which is a SOC. You could be a network administrator. They have lots of job security in that one. Very few good network administrators out there. And then into IT application support. If the programming is more of what you like, you could go into application support. So some of the positions you could look for to get an idea of what entry-level positions are available in your specific area or town. You could look for data support technicians, desktop support administrators, NOC or network operations center technician, managed service provider, a technician. So an MSP would be kind of sort of like a consulting company, but it's a IT company that is supporting services from another company. So they may be specializing in Microsoft services or Google services, maybe Amazon Web Services that then they can help their clients with. Their clients may not have on-site IT support that they employ, so they will work through an MSP. We have security analysts, software developers, web developers, network engineers, and many, many more. So you can get a further idea of what type of jobs are available in your area by going to something like LinkedIn or Glassdoor, any of those sites, and simply putting in CompTIA A+, CompTIA ITF+, and see what jobs are listed that are asking for those certifications. So let's start looking at the certifications themselves. So we're going to start with the ITF+. So this is a pre-career certification. So it helps a participant or a student really determine if IT is something that would be the right path for them. So it's going to give you the introduction to all the skills that will be grown upon later on. And it's also going to give you a handle of taking certification exams, studying for them, seeing how they're laid out, and give you practice taking that exam itself. Taking the exams themselves is its own skill. So even just for that basis, it is worth it. So it is the only certification that is out there that covers all of the areas of IT foundations. So it's giving you a nice primer, making sure you do have a nice base knowledge before growing from there. So those who would benefit from the ITF Plus are individuals that are looking for a possible career in IT, a possible career change into IT, even a professional that is just looking for a more broad understanding. Or if you are working in an IT-based organization, but are maybe some support staff, maybe you're in sales or marketing, taking something like the ITF Plus can really help you be able to help your organization in general. There is no prior experience needed for the ITF Plus. So if we look at some of the topics that are covered, we'll cover IT infrastructure. So this is the hardware itself, the machines, the networking themselves. Look a little bit at software development and a little bit at database use. So in the end, you're going to be able to install software, establish basic network connectivity and know how it works. And we're going to go into some of the security risks and how to prevent security issues. So looking at the main objectives. So we're going to look at IT concepts and terminology. So you're going to get a lot of the acronyms, a lot of the definitions that you're going to continue seeing, whether you do switch careers or move on to other certifications. It's going to lay that that foundation for you. We're going to look at the infrastructure. So looking at even storage types, how to prepare a drive to be able to install an operating system onto it. This is a big section, is with the infrastructure. Then looking at applications and software, how to manage your applications, how to virtualize operating systems. Look a little bit into software development. So a little bit about programming, running scripts, writing your own scripts and being able to run them. Database fundamentals. So you're going to be able to make your own database, work with it a little bit. How databases are structured differently than something like an Excel table where you would find databases. And then lastly, security. So we're going to look at how to maintain confidentiality, integrity, availability, some of our best practices that could be put into place to avoid security issues. So in brief, looking at all these different topics that are on the test, we're going to look at the features and functions of operating systems, Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, and Android. Again, it's not vendor specific or vendor branded, but it is, it's not vendor blind. So we are going to look at all the different types of operating systems out there a little bit. Look at software applications and their purposes. So if you see a certain file format, what type of program would be able to work with that? How to set up a workstation or like a desktop machine. Even look at the difference between that and like a laptop. Establish network connectivity, and then use security and web browsing best practices in the end. So we would cover all of that information in a 40-hour virtual class. So the class is done through Zoom. You will want to have a webcam and a microphone for class. That way you can ask questions and participate. You would be given all of the resources that you need. So you'd be given access to an ebook and a lab, which we'll talk about in a moment. You'll want extra things like a notebook and things, something to take notes with. But there will be a time commitment outside of this 40 hours. This 40 hours normally is stretched out over 2 weeks. So it's 4 hours a day for 2 weeks. So 10 classes. And there's generally about 2 hours of additional work a day. So that additional work in a day may be reading, especially if there's a section you're not as comfortable with, doing some practice questions, doing practice tests, and doing virtual labs. So looking a little bit more at this outside commitment, you will be given access to the learn.comptia.org website. And on this site, you will be provided with an ebook that you can view through a web browser, or you can download it as a PDF that you can take with you on any device, videos, practice questions, and then assessments or practice tests. The items from this learn.comptia.org site, you're able to access from any web-enabled device. iPad, tablet, smartphone, any of those type of devices. So a lot of times in class, it's very handy to have maybe the Zoom meeting up on your main device, like a laptop or a desktop, and then maybe have a tablet or your smartphone handy that you could have the ebook on. So that way, if there's a topic you're not so sure on, you could highlight it, make a note to refer back to it later. So all the items from this site would be considered part of that kind of 2 hours extra a day. Again, that 2 hours is kind of an average. Some days you're not going to have as much. Others you may have a little bit more. But generally, you would have the weekend to catch up if you did fall behind. So looking at the labs are presented through CompTIAlabs.learnondemand.net. These are hands-on labs. They are browser-based, so you don't have to have special software or anything to be able to run these labs. You don't have to have some sort of high-end device. The labs range in time between 15 minutes. The longest one is 90 minutes, but they are very generous on the amount of time that they estimate it will take you. For the ITF Plus, there are 20 labs. If you take all of the labs together, it's just over 11 hours if you took the whole time they recommend. The majority of people do not take the amount of time that they list. So a little example of what one of the labs might be set up like. So you're given full directions, step by step on what you're supposed to do. And then you're able to navigate in a virtual machine. In the class, we would talk about what a virtual machine is, that you would go through and do the tasks. So you will want to use a personal computer for this. So that could be Windows, could be Mac, could be Chrome OS. They will run on tablets, but it is not a user-friendly experience. You want to use something pretty much with the largest screen you can get. So that's why a laptop would be good, even a laptop hooked up to an external monitor, just to give yourself some more real estate. So that way you could have the directions in one screen, the lab in the other, just to make stuff easier on you. So looking at the ITF Plus exam itself, once we've covered the information in class, you can receive an exam voucher. To get that voucher, you have to attend 90% of the virtual classes. We do understand things come up. Life happens, especially with a class that's stretched out over a couple weeks. So classes would be recorded, but your attendance would be required. So we'll have a way, and it will be discussed at the beginning of the class, how attendance is being tracked. Then you must complete all of the labs. The labs you can do as many times as you want. You must complete the practice questions from that ebook site. Again, you can do those as many times as you want. And then you must receive a minimum of an 80% on the assessment. You can do that multiple times to reach that 80%. Once you've done these things, you can request your test voucher from us. After the class, you have 2 weeks to be able to finish these items and request your test voucher, and ideally take and pass your exam. There is some flexibility in that 2 weeks, but that's our ideal time window for you. The ITF Plus exam itself is a multiple choice only test. You have to receive a 650 score out of 900. So that averages out to about a 73-ish%. Some of the questions may be weighted differently than others. CompTIA does not release their scoring. They only release that you must receive a 650 out of 900 for the ITF Plus. But you're going to see probably 75 questions and you'll have 60 minutes. Now, the exam itself, you can take one of 2 ways. Once you receive your voucher, you can schedule through Pearson VUE testing, and this would be discussed in class exactly how to do this. You can go to a testing center. This is often maybe a public library or a community college, but it's a designated testing center through Pearson VUE. You would schedule an appointment and a time to take your exam. The other option is to go through the Pearson VUE OnVUE online testing environment. It's the same idea. You would take your test voucher, schedule the appointment, and then you must meet certain criteria with your equipment and your testing environment at home. So for the OnVUE system, you have to be in a room where the door can close. You must have a clear workspace. So if you have a desk with a lot of stuff on it, that won't work. You have to clear the desk off. You have to have a webcam. There's a number of things that are outlined on the OnVUE site. But that is an option if you are unable to get to a testing center. Once you go to the testing center, you would take your exam. At the end of the exam, you would find out right away if you passed or you failed. Either way, they will give you a list of the objectives that you've missed questions on. If you did not pass the first try, you can take a second attempt with no waiting period. So after the ITF Plus, depending on your career trajectory, you could move on to the A Plus. So the A Plus is what most employers are going to be looking for. So it is one of the most worldwide, most known certifications. And it's a little different than the ITF Plus because it is going to start taking the topics that may have been introduced in the ITF Plus. It's going to expand on all of them and add in how they're linked to a lot of jobs and positions, and add in more performance-based items. The A Plus is 2 exams. There are 2 pieces to it. There's the Core 1 and the Core 2. And these are both 2 separate exams. You have to pass both to receive the A Plus. So the Core 1 covers things like mobile devices, network technology, hardware, virtualization and cloud, and networking. Core 2 is looking at your operating systems, security, software, and operational procedures. So you're kind of looking at hardware with the Core 1 and software and operating systems with Core 2. There are recommended prerequisites for the A Plus to have either 12 months experience as an IT support specialist or obtaining the CompTIA ITF Plus. So coming into the A Plus, you do need to have a base knowledge, a nice foundation. So just looking at a quick overview of some of the objectives. So for the Core 1, we have mobile devices. So this is going to be our smartphones, our tablets, our networking. So it's, even though ITF Plus had networking, this is going to go into more detail. You're going to have to know how to install and configure both wired and wireless SOHO, so small office, home office networks, and go into some of the enterprise settings, what some of the differences are between a large enterprise situation versus a small office, home office. Going to look at your hardware. So different connectors, RAM, CPUs, HDDs, your hard drives, your SSDs, any type of hardware. We're going to look at virtualization and cloud computing. So cloud computing is something that was not around 5-10 years ago. Kind of one of the newer topics. We're going to spend a fair amount of time on cloud. Then looking at our hardware and network troubleshooting. So troubleshooting is kind of a bigger topic with the A Plus, since that's what most of our career options are going to be doing. Then looking at the Core 2. So again, the Core 1 and Core 2 are 2 separate exams. We're looking at our operating systems. So Windows, Mac, Linux. You're going to have to know how to set each one of them up, some of the features between all of them and the differences. A deeper dive into security and different vulnerabilities. Moving into software troubleshooting. Lots of things that you may be given a scenario. So whenever you're given a scenario, that's an option you might actually see a performance-based question on. So unlike the ITF, the A Plus will have scenario questions or these performance-based questions where you actually have to do something, not just answer A, B, C, and D. The operational procedures, so a lot of your best practices, is our last objective for the Core 2. So if we look at the A Plus as a whole, in the end, once you've received your A Plus, you're going to be a very well-rounded client that an employer would be able to look at because they're going to know you can do these things. So you're going to be able to configure, install, and upgrade operating systems, including Windows, Apple, Linux, iOS, Android, and Windows Mobile, even though that one's a little more harder to find. Install and image virtual machines. So again, newer topic with virtual machines and cloud. Set up and troubleshoot peripheral devices. So these are going to be things like your printers. Assemble and disassemble computing hardware. Set up and support small and home and small office networks, implement cybersecurity controls. So lots of things with security and best practices to reduce security risks, and troubleshoot and support end user access. So really setting you up for one of those entry-level tech support positions. With the A+ class, the amount of time in the classroom is going to vary depending on the grade schedule. You would be notified ahead of time. So it may be anywhere between a 40 to possibly up to 80-hour class, generally about a 45-hour class. So with a 45-hour class, it would be 3 hours a day for 3 weeks. So you do have a larger, longer time commitment. And just like with the ITF, this does not include the time to take the exam or to do the outside work. So you're still looking at about 2 hours a day of commitment, but with that longer time frame, it ends up being more outside work. The outside commitments, the same sort of items. So we have reading, videos, practice questions, and assessments. And then our labs. The A+ has 14 labs. And if you took all of them together, you're looking a little over 11 hours. So to prepare for and then pass the A+ exams, you must pass both exams. An employer is going to ask you what happened to the other exam if you've only passed one. You can't put just one of them on your resume and have your employer know you got the A+. You have to have both. So in this case, we recommend 3 weeks to take and pass the exams after the course is complete. You do have the same requirements with attending the virtual classes, completing all of the labs, completing all of the practice questions, and receiving a minimum of an 80% on the assessment before you can request your test voucher. So once you've done that, you can request your first test voucher. Once you have passed the first test, you can request your second test voucher since it is 2 tests. And the tests have different passing scores. To pass the Core 1 or the 1001, it is a passing score of 675, where the Core 2 or the 1002 is a passing score of a 700. If you do take a little bit longer to pass your exams, they do need to be of the same generation. So a new generation could be coming out soon. It would have a different core number to it. So instead of being 1001 and 1002, it would be the 1101 and the 1102. You cannot mix the generations. So you have to be mindful of that timing. Same way to take the exams through Pearson VUE, whether it is an in-person testing center or the online testing environment. Now, once you've passed your exams, the ITF Plus is a lifetime certification. So once you've received it, you have it for life. There is no renewal that is ever needed for it. So you can list that on your resume, can list it on LinkedIn. For the A+, it does expire. It is good for 3 years, but there's a variety of ways you can renew it. So there's continuing education options to renew it. So you would go to the CompTIA website and it'll list all the continuing education options. Or you can receive a higher certification. So if you were to take the Network Plus, it will renew the A+. The CompTIA exams are stackable. So if you pass the A+ and the Network Plus, you are a certified CompTIA IT operations specialist. If you were to pass the A+ and the Lynx Plus, you would be a CompTIA systems support specialist. And then passing the A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus, this is the trifecta. This makes you an extremely well-rounded candidate for any IT position. Makes you a CompTIA secure infrastructure specialist. With any of the certifications, you receive a digital badge that you could add to your resume or onto your LinkedIn profile. So now that we've covered the exams, what the classes are structured like, some of the jobs we can get, let's look at our next steps. So now that our presentation has reached its end, please complete the quiz following the link that was provided before the deadline you are given. So that way we know you're clear on what information's covered on the exams, on the certifications, and that you're clear on the expectations in the class. There will be outside work in the classes. There's no way around that. There is no way we can possibly cover all of the information on any of the exams completely in class time. If you've not already done so, please sign the enrollment form and return it to your Global Lynx contact. That may be Ben French. Once class is scheduled to start, you will receive the virtual sessions of the class. So you will receive emails with Zoom links. Put them in your calendar. Please be on time, if not a little bit early. Normally your instructor will be early and can answer any questions during that time that you may have. And be ready to participate. Participation is crucial. Makes the class more enjoyable for all the participants and for the instructor. Have your webcam on. If you choose, you don't have to have it on all the time, but have it on part of the time. So it's encouraging for everybody else. You feel like you're really talking to somebody, and people can get to know you. They can put faces with names, makes the whole experience better for everyone. Within a day or two of the class, once class has already started, you will receive access to the official CompTIA materials. This is that ebook site and the lab site. Generally, this will happen on the second day, but it will not be before the class starts. Make sure you allocate extra time for these labs and the homework. And again, as a review of what you need to do to receive your test vouchers, you must attend the classes. If you do need to miss a class, let your instructor know. You will receive access to recordings, but we will be able to count your attendance different ways through that, and that will be discussed at the beginning of the course. Then complete all of your labs, complete all of your practice questions, and receive a minimum of an 80% on the assessment on the ebook page. So thank you for watching and listening today. If you have any questions, please reach out to administration@globallynx.com. Or if you've already been in touch with Ben, I'm sure he would be happy to answer any questions as well. So again, thank you for your time. Have a great day and let us know if you have any questions.